This episode of Legendary is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV today.
Gamebreaker TV.
Big Mom, what's up, buddy? It's Legendary. Yeah. It's Thursday night. It's Legendary. It's episode 114, February 14th. It's episode 114 on February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, weird numerologists out there. I'm Gary Gannon. Coming up tonight, Ghostcrawler talks about the future of arena teams. Save your Valor. No, wait, spend it. No, wait, save it. No, wait, spend it. Save it again. And the WoW community, are they too elitist these days? I don't know. We'll ask you. All that and more, but first, TechSpot.com, the weekly Mara PST. It's the Soul Glow. How you doing, sir? Hello? We'll come back to you when you unmute yourself. Olivia D. Grace.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm a little bit delirious again this evening. Apologies for that.
Perfect. You just gonna like zone out in the middle of the show and just be like,
Yeah,
I'm talking for
it's
like
like-
90 hours and nobody's paying attention. I'm just gonna keep going. Talk
I'm
about
just gonna be
elves and
rabbiting on
dwarves, and all of a sudden I'm gonna be
about
on.
how to kill people in arenas, because that's what I normally rabbit on about.
I'm gonna start a show tomorrow called Olivia Zone. It's kind of like Busey Zone, but it's
It's kind of like, I'm going to be the female Gary Busey. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to start right now.
The factor starts right now.
Yeah.
All right, so this Josh, you don't even get a plug. You just get a derp. So
Damn.
Derp. Josh Phelan.
Wow.
Wow. Wait, you know what that gets? Snappy snap. Josh Phelan. How did we do 114 episodes and no one has ever said that? God, you need a new lower third. All right. It's been a bit of a slow week. It's been a little bit quiet, all things considered. So kind of feeling like 5.2 development might be starting to wrap. But there are some good topics to talk about this week. So one of the bigger things this week is that Blizzard, check this out. Wait for it. I almost like can't even believe this might happen. Blizzard might actually be considering dropping arena teams.
Go far!
Seriously? Am I reading this correctly? What? Okay. Olivia, you apparently tweeted Ghostcrawler, GC, Street, and you asked whether or not if they would consider letting players actually queue for arenas cross-realm, like RBGs.
Exactly.
And he came back with this. We would, in fact, consider it. Also debating if teams are cool or a hindrance.
Yeah, wow.
Not what you were expecting as a reply, huh?
No, not quite what I was actually expecting him just to say no. I was expecting him to just like either A, ignore me, or B, come back just saying, no, we wouldn't consider doing that. Would totally break battle groups.
So
Duh.
what is the hindrance with arena teams?
It's literally just that you can't form them cross-realm. You you can't do cross-realm arenas. It's as simple as that. The option doesn't exist. It exists with rated battlegrounds, but not with arenas. My presumption is that it relates to the battle group system. So, and I've been trying recently to actually establish exactly how this works in the US, because someone told me on Twitter that it works differently. So, happy to hear about that. But
we got Josh Phelan here to answer any of your questions. So,
yeah.
What was the thing that
battle groups work in the US? As your realms are grouped together into several battle groups which are within the region. Is it the same in the US as it is in Europe?
Yes.
Okay,
battle
cool.
Groups
Good.
They don't mean as much as they used to, but they do still matter for arenas.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, then it is exactly the same as in Europe. That makes me happy, because I was confused by people on Twitter. I'm too gullible sometimes. But yes, you can't.
If it's on Twitter, it must be true.
Must be true. Everyone on Twitter tells the truth all the time. But yeah, so basically you can't queue for arenas cross-realm. It's as simple as that. You can't make a group with one person from Eridar and one person from Argent Dawn and one person from Server X and make an arena team and queue together. You can do that with rated battlegrounds. So the question was simply, would you consider doing that for arenas? And the battle groups seem a little bit outdated with rated battlegrounds queuable cross-realm.
I think there's more to what Ghostcrawler might be hinting at here, though, because the idea of arena teams in general is something that comes up a lot on PST, where people ask me questions like, should there be a solo queue? And we've talked about that on Legendary before, too, is the idea of, should you have to be in a team in order to even do arenas? And I think that might be part of what he's hinting at here as well, is just the idea of, should we have a system where, in order to even do any sort of arena PvP, like, they got rid of skirmishes ages ago, and people have been pissed about that ever since.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I kind of feel like maybe he's talking about that a little bit as well. Is like maybe the way that that RBGs handle it, where your rating just kind of is a personal thing, and it doesn't really matter as much who you group up with, except for the fact that the people that you group up with, if they're better, you'll obviously win more.
Yeah.
Maybe applying that sort of logic to the arena system might make sense as well. So you still will have arena teams. It's just not like mandatory.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it would be a really good way to go back to the system where you had the skirmish system. And, I would quite like to have the skirmish system, but with a sort of maintainable rating, like with some element of matchmaking and rating made more sort of significant in there, like to have a solo rating and a team rating for the different comp sizes like that. I think that would be really cool to have like a personal solo rating from the solo queuing, and then to have your team go out and get queue. I would not like to see the complete removal of arena teams.
I was going to say, do you think Blizzard would actually do something like that and actually just completely remove them?
It just not.
What I'd really like to see them do with arenas is the same thing that we have in StarCraft 2 with 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, is you can queue up for a 2v2 game solo in StarCraft 2, and it'll match you with a random other person, and you get a random queue rating out of that. Or if you play with somebody else, then you have a team that's you and that person in like a 2v2. You'll have a team that's you and that person, and that team gets a rating as well. And then they could just go off of like whichever one is highest for different. Well, I guess there aren't rating requirements on things anymore, so rating requirements don't even matter anymore. So yeah, it'd just be a question of like ladder points would be all that the ratings really would equate to. So yeah, I think something like that would probably work really well.
Livy, what about your original question? Go back to your original question. I mean, you asked that. You obviously think that's a really good idea. I mean, what do you think?
Making arena teams cross-realm. I mean, I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% convinced that it's a brilliant idea. I have the feeling that there could be downsides to it that I haven't thought of yet. So I'm not sort of saying, yes, this is a brilliant idea. It's a perfect solution to everything. My thinking behind it was basically that at the moment you have things like people taking their arena team and switching realms to get into an easy battle group. There's such a thing at the moment, particularly in Europe. I can't really comment on the US side of this, but you have sort of some battle groups where there's a ton of really good players, and then other battle groups where there's not. Where you can get your Glad with a lower rating, you can get your titles as you tick up through the titles with lower ratings, or you can just like find more teams that are easy to kick their arse off on certain battle groups. And my thinking behind the idea was to sort of make it all region wide. So you just have your gladiator and all the rest within Europe as a whole, or within American servers as a whole, rather than battle group by battle group.
And I guess
So
that
that was
also
the thinking behind that.
we've been talking about this for quite a while on Legendary, just about the barrier of entry to PvP in general, and how it seems like Blizzard are trying to make it a lot easier and stuff like that. And it sounds like that could be one more step into getting more players in there. And it sounds like to me like it would work in the right direction to kind of like lower the barrier.
Yeah, I think so. And I can't. A few people responded to me on Twitter saying that it would ruin PvP servers, and I can't understand the logic behind that. I just don't get it. And I mean, if anyone in chat room has an idea, fill me in on why it completely breaks PvP servers, because I'm open to the idea that I could have completely missed something, but I can't figure out what it is right now. And also, I mean, it would be really nice. Friends of mine coming back to WoW who I've arenaed with in the past and who've kind of got bored of it, or they've just gone on to do something else and they've come back, and I've up and left that server. I'm already chasing some new people on different servers. It'd be cool to do a few arenas with them without everyone having to pay £12 all the time to send characters from here to there and all of that sort of stuff.
Well,
really cool.
And with the current arena system, someone brought this up in chat too. With the current arena system, even if you're on the same realm, you can't really do arenas with them. If you already if you have a twos team and you want to do twos with somebody else, you can't, because that would tank the rating of, and you'll have to be like, at the very least, you have to ask the other guy, hey, is it okay if I do twos with? Yeah, do you mind if our rating?
I ruin our rating?
Yeah. So I think the arena teams system, I don't think they should remove arena teams at all. But it definitely is something that needs some work, needs a second look, needs to sort of be brought into the 21st century a little bit, I think.
I mean, I honestly can't understand why they removed, I still haven't wrapped my head around why they removed skirmishes to begin with. Because you could queue as a party for those, and they were a brilliant way just to mess around, test out some specs. Does mage work? No, it doesn't work. Stop doing double DPS, which are the same class. And just messing around, having some fun, and doing stupid things like double healer comps and trash like that. It was fun, and I think that needs to come back.
All right, since we're talking about Crossrealm, let's talk a bit about Ghostcrawler. Also had confirmed on Twitter that the Tier 14 raids will be opening up to Crossrealm groups in 5.2. So Mogushan Vaults, Heart of Fear, and Terrace of Endless Spring will be doable on both normal and heroic mode with a cross-realm group. So now obviously there's no queue for these, so you're gonna have to organize these groups yourself. But this is kind of an interesting move here, since the goal in Mists of Pandaria, is to have players gear up through each tier, even when a new one is released. So first up, I mean, do you guys think that we'll see a lot of cross-realm grouping for these? I mean, could you technically do Firelands and the tier 11 raids, cross-realm and Cataclysm?
Yeah, I mean, you could during Cataclysm. You were technically able to do like Firelands and like Bastion at Twilight and whatnot, but not a lot of people really seem to do it. There was, there still is actually a site called Open Raid that was created to sort of help coordinate those sorts of things, but it wasn't something that really took off. Like, it wasn't something that you saw a ton of people doing. Whereas with something like this, I think there's a real solid chance that we'll start to see a lot more normal and heroic cross-realm Tier 14 groups once Tier 15 is out, just because a lot of people will be wanting to gear up as quickly as possible, and it's easier to find a pug through something like Open Raid if you can, than necessarily sitting, like, you can just find a group on a site that's set up ahead of time. It's like, okay, we're going to do this pug at this time, there's the signups and everything, everybody please be online at this time, etc. You can do that and then just log on and be ready to go. Or you can stand around in trade chat spamming for the half an hour that you happen to have to stand around in trade chat spamming. It seems like something like that might give quite a bit of a leg, especially since it will then help you get enough gear to be able to get into Tier 15.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing in making comparisons to Cataclysm, which is very valid comparisons, but the way that the gearing worked in Cataclysm, you kind of didn't have to, once the next tier was out and you were sort of starting to progress on that tier, they kind of almost invalidated the tier before, so you didn't go back. And so maybe, there were people going through Firelands to get their stupid, legendary, stupid stuff, but other than that, there was, apart from like the cool thing of going back and killing Ragnaros again, I'm sure someone in the world liked that fight. It wasn't me.
There were certainly a lot of priests, mages, druids, warlocks, and elemental shamans looking to form a Firelands raid with no other priests, druids, warlocks, or
shards
elemental
reserved. Did we see a lot of shards reserved in chat?
Yeah, no one else will be getting. If you're on this step of the chain, you cannot come. That was what was happening in Firelands. I think there's going to be a real serious chance to see a lot of cross-realm raiding happening for the 5.0 raids.
Yeah,
that brings up something that brings up something else that could be really interesting. What do you guys think about cross-realm guilds? You think people would actually start forming more higher end, top end progression kind of cross-realm guilds and just kind of? I almost don't see why not.
Well, I mean, they won't be able to be top end progression because you can't do the current tier raids.
True.
But there's bound to be a lot of guilds that are still working through, or a lot of groups of people that are still working through the older content. Yeah. And I guess if you end up organizing this cross-realm pug, and then you're running with that same group every single week from then on, you're a guild tag away from being a guild at that point anyway, right?
Well, exactly, yeah.
You kind of already are a guild.
Yeah, you're hanging out with those people, you're meeting at scheduled times to do scheduled things as a group. You're a guild. You just don't have the green chat.
When you start keeping track from week to week of who got what gear, then you're
when you start a DKP system, you're a guild.
maybe they're moving towards like a full-on cross-realm, making current tier raids fully cross-realm. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is sort of them sort of testing the water, just seeing how it's going to sort of fare and just get all current raids cross-realm.
I do think that's still a pretty big jump to go from old content cross-realm into current content. And it is still a very risky one because it's just kind of an unknown thing. Like, we could do this, but what would happen? We have no idea how this would actually affect things. And it's you can't take it back, right? You can't be like, well, sorry, all of your guilds broke up. By the way, what you've been doing to continue playing the game doesn't work anymore either. It's like, no, that would be a bad move. So it does still feel like a pretty big jump. I think the other question is what the longevity of running a group like that will be, because we do know that there's going to be more loot dropping in the old raids, in the tier 14 raids, even on normal and heroic mode. Once the patch releases, they're going to just basically let people gear up faster through tier 14 so they can get into tier 15. Which makes me wonder how long it's actually going to take until people say, okay, cool, thanks for coming along. I've got all of the gear I need to get into tier 15 raids now. I've been accepted by this guild. It's time to go and face my destiny or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, these are totally going to... Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm still going back to our... Be feeders.
There's going to be feeders?
These are just going to be feeding. These are going to be feeding. Like if they do the cross realm stuff for the previous tier, they're just going to be, like Josh was saying, feeder guilds. So people will be like, man, I need to gear up. I need to get my stuff. I need to go into this. And there'll be some poor soul who's in charge of organizing this whole racket. And then the people are just like, oh, well, thanks. See ya. Got my
peace
item level now.
Peace out.
Yeah. You gotta go over here.
That's always happened, right? I mean, that's happened in every guild. Sure. I don't know. I still think that they're moving towards this realmless system, and they're just going to get rid of everything, and you're just not going to know. Servers are not going to exist anymore. Everything still points to those signs of slowly chipping away at that and just completely removing it. And God, I mean, tell me, we've talked about this endlessly. I mean, I feel like MMO companies would love for us to never, ever talk about realm mergers ever again, and player populations decreasing. I don't know. I think they could possibly do something like that.
Maybe.
What if it just doesn't matter? Like, if it just doesn't matter anymore, what's the big deal? Like, the top end guilds can still just be top end guilds. It just doesn't matter where you are.
I do think that there would be a lot lost in terms of server community that way. There isn't a ton of server community compared to how it was in Classic anymore, but there is still some of it. Like, I still know who, if I'm out in the open and I see some random dude.
When I used to go to school, you're just holding on to the old.
No, but like, I can still be out in the open. I see somebody else doing dailies, and I'm like, oh, it's that guy. That guy's kind of cool. I'll do daily. I'll ask him if they can group with him, or if he's from the other faction, I'll be like, I know who that guy is because I bumped into him before. Yeah. So I know I can trust him not to try and kill me. Or it'll be like, okay, well, I need to put on my PvP gear and get ready to fight because that guy's probably going to try and kill me.
Exactly. It's like you have the fun competition within your realm. Like there's a bunch of one of the realms where I play both sides. There's a bunch of guys from my Horde guild, and we'd be like wave at each other, attack. And it's fun. It's nice to have that server community. And there's always this, like, the servers I play on have guilds which are well known for certain things, and I guess that could still exist, but I think it's diluted enough. I think it's diluted enough as it is, and I think there is some value to that still. And maybe it is just me being old-fashioned as well, like Josh, but well, I think there's value there.
There's the idea of server competition in terms of raiding guilds as well, too. Being able to say, you know, I'm second or third, or my guild is second or third on my server, feels a heck of a lot better than saying I'm 8,000th in the world.
Yeah.
Like, you could still at least point at that and say, yeah, you know, we're doing really, really good. Or,
on us.
What do you mean there's like 50 billion people that are better at this game than we are? Yeah, I don't know. I think
some people just hate change. Just hate change.
We fear change.
Can't change.
It's also an 8-year-old game. I kind of feel like that's a pretty big change for an 8-year-old game.
It is, but some of the things we're looking at now, I think if you would have brought these things up 3-4 years ago, you'd probably be sitting there going like, "There's no way they would do that. There's no way they would cross to make these. They wouldn't. Yeah. A lot of the things that they've implemented, we would have, kind of said that wouldn't have taken place 3 or 4 years ago.
So maybe in 3 or 4 years we'll see that.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Just glancing at chat room, actually, someone brings. Well, I don't know if I actually meant to bring up this point. I'm kind of glancing at it as kind of far away from me at the moment. But about like the value of a server mentality, of like the value of people fearing recriminations. Like if you're a real nasty person to someone else on your server, people will remember that and they'll think, "Oh, that guy's kind of a git." I'm trying to think of age appropriate, kind of an asshole. I'm not going to bring him to my raid. And like there was a guy on one particular server I was on who was always trolling trade chat. He was a good player. He was a good PvPer, unfortunately. But he was a real pain in the ass to have around socially. And so there's that. There's the sort of
but they
consequences of being on well.
I don't know. Blizzard is smart. They're good at math. They put a little box there. You put a little, hey, like I don't like that guy. Hey, that guy was cool. Boom. They built some math in the background algorithm. They put you in the same area with those people. They could put weighting. I'm just making stuff up now. It's like NASA.
Just saying words. Just words. I found some words. Okay.
Every player gets a weighting. Everybody could wait. Whatever. I'm moving on. Like a weighting number, like like you see out in the world, you get a take. Oh, that guy Josh Allen, like he's a cool dude, and you go like, hey, I put him on my friends list, and then when you log in, it looks through your friends, and it says, oh, like he's got the majority of people, like kind of let's push him over here with a bunch of his people, just like you would a guild, and you could kind of like still see some of those people. You wouldn't see everybody all the time, but you can kind of like maneuver and mold like a piece of clay people into certain like areas that they'll see people that they're familiar with. Come on, Josh Allen. You do some math once in a while.
And then you'd have the guy who goes, why do the servers keep putting me in with this guy? I don't even like this guy. I talked to him once 6 months ago, and now the servers just always think that I'm best friends with him. And
it'll be like that Facebook. It'll be like that Facebook suggest a friend feature. It's like, no, for the 100th time, Facebook, there's a reason I'm not friends with that person. I don't want to talk to them. They didn't like me at school.
I hate servers. That's all there is to it.
You see forum threads. People like, do not talk to this guy. You'll get stuck with him forever. Yeah. Learn from my mistakes.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some Valor points. We got to talk about some Valor again. So last week, Blizzard posted a blog that said, among other things, that there would be a Valor reset in 5.2, like we've seen in the past. Your Valor points would turn into Justice points, and basically anything over the cap would be turned into gold. And this, of course, led to a lot of people assuming that they could and probably should spend all of their existing Valor on upgrades before the 5.2 patch dropped. Well, apparently not. Zarheim posted this on the forums Tuesday. He said, after reading your feedback and locking ourselves in a dim, fluorescent lit rooms for much deliberation, we have decided that we are not going to convert Valor to Justice and Justice to Gold when 5.2 ships. There's more here. Well, let's hold up. All right. I think we talked about this before. But just to make sure everyone is up to speed on this, maybe they missed last week's episode. What's wrong with a Valor reset?
So, in the past, when they would do a Valor reset, they would also take all of the Valor gear and make that available for Justice points. So you would still be able to, like, it would turn all of your Valor into Justice points, but you'd still be able to buy the same things then with those Justice points. So it wasn't like a loss of anything, really. It was just that I turned all of my blue currency into yellow currency, and now all of the stuff that I used to buy with blue currency, I buy with yellow currency, and there's new stuff that I can buy with the new blue currency, basically. They're not doing that this time around. They're leaving all of the Valor pieces as Valor pieces. They're making them cost less, but they're still purchased with Valor, which means that Justice points are really only good for, like, buying item level 458 blues and converting into honor. That's about all that Justice points is actually good for. I think you can buy, like, Spirits of Harmony or something with them too, but it's like nobody goes after Justice points because they're kind of worthless. So they were going to take all of your Valor points and be like, well, here you go. Have a bunch of empty candy wrappers instead.
Hey, we turned them into something that's completely useless for you. Oh, I'm gold. Like, can I just have it all turned into gold? Would that
Exactly.
be okay?
Yeah. Could you just not convert it and just make it gold?
Yeah, just make it
Great.
gold, because that would frankly be more useful to me right now.
So what are we going to do then? Now that Valor isn't resetting, what should they spend it on? What should they plan on spending it on?
Right now, okay. So when patch 5.2 drops, you will immediately be able to. Everybody will immediately be able to spend at least 1,250 Valor on an item level 522 ring. There's one available at Neutral Reputation, which Neutral is the starting point. So Neutral Reputation with the 5.2 raid rep. Even if you're not raiding, week 1 you'll be able to spend at least 1,250. So you're going to want to have at least 1,250 going into the raid. You're probably going to want to be capped also, because eventually you will be able to start getting that raid reputation, and thus being able to buy other things. And in fact, they've even said that if you're going into the normal or heroic raids, obviously the LFR is probably not going to be available week 1, but the normal raids week 1, you should be able to get to friendly in that first week. So then you'll be able to buy. That opens up a whole bunch of other items. So yeah, you're probably going to want to be Valor capped at 3,000 Valor going into patch 5.2 to get the most out of your purchases. There's just going to be a lot of stuff that you can buy with it.
Now, what about all the people who spent all their all of it already, thinking that they didn't need to save it? They're pretty pissed off right now. Are they just screwed?
Yeah, I can understand them being a little bit annoyed, definitely. Particularly those who spend it on the upgrades to existing
Some are
gear,
actually
which will be
asking
replaced with new gear.
A lot of people are actually saying that they want refunds and stuff. I don't really know. I don't know if Blizzard should be giving refunds out for this. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? I mean, should people be reacting that quickly on sort of speculation?
Well, here's the thing. Part of the thing that they were talking about when they brought this up is they said, oh, you'll have enough time to cap again before the patch releases, even if you're at 0 Valor, which A, means that the patch is at least 3 weeks out, but B, does mean that if you go in and work at it, then as long as you're capping for the next 3 weeks, you'll be at the cap by the time the patch actually releases. So that's a bit of good news at the very least. It can be frustrating for the people who are like, I haven't had to worry about Valor capping in ages, so I'm not going to worry about it for a while. And now they're like, oh crap. Well, now I need to Valor cap again for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It can be kind of frustrating for the people that haven't been worrying about Valor capping and now have to. Which is, I think that's why people have been asking for refunds. If it's something that if that's something that Blizzard could do easily, then sure. But it seems like going in and, like, they'd have to come up with some system to have people, like, send in tickets for do they want their Valor to be refunded, and then they have to be able to go and check. It just sounds like it'd be an enormous pain for 1 week's worth of Valor. So
yeah, I mean, I can
it anyway. So
yeah, true. I mean, I can totally, I can see that point. I agree with that. I can also sort of see it from the perspective of someone who's just like, all right, okay, I'm just going to get enough Valor to do the stuff that I want to do, so I'm going to get these items upgraded, and then I'm stopping. No more Valor because I don't need it because it's all going to be converted anyway. Yay! I'm just going to go and, like, do Brawler's Guild for the next 3 weeks. Awesome. and then be a bit frustrated by the sudden change of tune. But I mean, talking about giving it back, I was chatting with guildies about this, and like, they should put they have the refund timer when you buy Valor gear. When you go to a vendor and you buy gear, you've got like, I think it's 2 hours off the top of my head to say, oh, sorry, no, not this bit. I want a refund on that so you can get your points back. We were talking about it, like some people had actually gone and bought gear and they'd logged off that character immediately, logged back in again and gone, oh, I still got the refund time. I can actually swap that gear for the points again. But they can't do that with the upgrades. I think they should introduce that to the upgrades so that you can be like, derp, I did it wrong, and like, I fail at internet. Give it back, please.
I mean, that sounds like a decent thing. But
yeah, I think they should do that regardless, because I actually upgraded a wrong trinket once, because it was like I got the heroic version of a trinket and I was like, yay, I could finally upgrade it. Didn't realize that I still had the old one equipped, so I sank an upgrade into the wrong trinket, and I was like, damn it.
Yeah, there's no way to get that back.
That kind of sounds like just a good quality of life kind of thing that they could add regardless. But I wonder how many people that would really, help out in this scenario here. Probably a small percentage. They probably 2 hour window. They probably did their damage, logged out. It's gone. Days gone by.
Yeah, it's probably been too long now.
Right,
it's probably been too long. But they could an easy way for them to do it could be. I don't know if this is an easy way to do it. I'm not a programmer, but to say increase that window to 24 hours. I don't know if that's possible, but like if they did that,
make it
then
72.
Just refund it.
Don't make it a week. Just make it a month.
Yeah, just let's make it until patch 5.2.
Yes, there you go. There is your total. I don't know. All right, so one other thing Zarheim mentioned. This kind of makes sense on the PvP end. So Conquest points will still be resetting. So Conquest will become honor, and extra honor will be turned into gold. I think this makes sense. PvP works a lot differently than PvE. So what should people be doing with their Conquest points right now? What are you doing with them?
Now, this is an interesting one. This is a bit of an interesting one. So I have to get this right in my head before I start talking because it's kind of complicated. Conquest is being turned into honor. Okay, there we go. The 5.1 Conquest gear fully upgraded is superior to the 5.2 honor gear. The 5.2 honor gear is item level 476, and the 5.1 Conquest gear is item level 483. So once your currency is converted from Conquest to honor, the gear you'll be buying with it goes from being 483 to 476 at its basic level. It has, however, had buffs to the PvP power and PvP resilience in order to bring it in line with the current Conquest gear. However, upgraded Conquest gear is still superior to new honor gear. So what should you be doing with your Conquest points? Spending them on upgrades. Weapons, major bits. I would upgrade weapons first. Maybe trinkets. There's a ton of PvP power on a lot of those. And the expensive bits, so head, chest, legs. Because it's going to take you longer to replace those. And then you can replace your cheap bits. Like that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a weird situation where the current gear is better than the next gear up, the next gear along. It's weird.
Well, it's just because they're getting rid of upgrades, which is the same reason that, and it's like, obviously there's the new wave of Conquest gear coming in 5.2 also, which it'll be better than all of it. But it's just because they're turning off upgrades. So it kind of just goes to what Valor was before they said, no, wait, we're actually not going to reset it. Where it was like, okay, just upgrade as much as you can because it's gonna all become something else that you don't really care about as much. So yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of
Chatham is thoroughly confused.
Spend your Conquest points on upgrading gear because the gear you upgrade now will still be better than the honor gear next time.
There you go. There's the abbreviated version. All right, the last thing he mentioned, which you brought up really quickly, is that you do have enough time to Valor cap before 5.2 drops, even if you're at 0. So even if you got caught in the crossfire, you spent them all, you wasted them, and now you're kind of screwed, you do still have time before 5.2. So if the Valor cap is 3,000 and you can only earn 1,000 per week, as Josh Allen pointed out, sounds like the patch is actually 3 weeks out, not like 2 that we all thought. So they kind of gave a release date, and they basically sounds like they've been delayed 1 week. In the 1 week time span from episodes of Legendary.
Yeah.
1 week.
Like, last week of February, which I saw a lot of people in the chat room were confused by it too, because there was two announcements that were very, very close to each other. It was, we're going for the last week of February, and then it was like 4 days later, they were like, actually, no, it's going to be at least 3 weeks. So,
Yeah.
So do you think
I reckon Fashiok posted and was just like, "Oh, derp! What did I do? I did stupid. I'm sorry, guys. I said last week of February, and that was totally on that memo from 3 weeks ago. Sorry."
Well, is it possible? Is it possible that they did the pushback so they could give everybody enough time? We got caught in the crossfire here with the situation to earn enough valor back. I mean,
it's possible, but the state that the PTR was in, like, I don't think anybody who did any sort of raid testing really felt confident that it was going to be ready in 2 weeks. Like, even LFR testing, it was...
LFR testing was insane.
Yeah,
LFR testing was insane. It was literally, I nearly went insane trying to test LFR. It was, oh my god. I was in there and I was shocked. I was shocked at how ridiculous it was. It was so hard. And it was like, same as like Horadon was pretty much the same fight as 10-man. And
yeah,
ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, and just to clarify, because I see people arguing about it now in chat room. Yes, they said 226. Yes. Well, they said last week of February, which would have been 226.
Which would have been 226.
Yeah. Then they said after that they said no, you'll have 3 weeks to cap. Then when people asked them about it, they said that was just a target date. We are not making the 226 date. So it is not the 26th of February. It is after that. You have at least 3 weeks to cap Valor.
Why don't they
puts
just
it
not
at the
give out
earliest
dates?
at like. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's kind of the hilarious thing about this whole conundrum here is because people are always like, "Oh no, Blizzard knows when they're going to release patches ahead of time. They always know." And then it turns out maybe sometimes they don't actually know when they're going to release patches.
Yeah. Well,
crazy thought. Maybe when they said that, they meant it.
I was like, because it happened so close around the Raid Finder testing weekend as well. Like, they went in there and everyone went into Raid Finder and just like, yeah, I think we need to, we thought this would totally work, and actually it's not working. No, it's not working at all. No one's killed Horadon. Okay, one group.
So tell me. I mean, with what you're making it sound like, how the experience was. I mean, do you think 3 weeks is actually going to be enough to get the patch ready, or they actually need even more time than that? Because you're kind of feeling.
I don't know. I think they need another round of testing certainly for LFR. I mean, I don't know what Josh thinks about this.
Is this one of like the roughest tests that is this one of the roughest tests that you guys have ever gone through?
It's not really that it's rough. Like, it is usually like tuning is all over the place when they first do testing and everything. It's just tuning is all over the place in the first round of testing, and then there's like a month before the patch releases. Not 2 weeks. Yeah.
They go in, they test it, it's all horribly wrong, and then they fix it, and then they release the patch. They don't go testing, fine, done.
Yeah.
Bosh, 3 weeks.
I mean, I think it's possible that they could push it out faster than they have in the past, but it's not in line with what we've seen before. Plus with the fact that Heart of the Swarm is releasing on March 12th.
That would be a bad day.
Yeah. So basically we had the last Tuesday in February, which was what I had, like, a couple months ago, I had been thinking, well, it'll probably be right around that date someday. We have the week before Heart of the Swarm releases. We have the day Heart of the Swarm releases. Those are the 3 weeks that are right there. And then after that, it'd be the week after Heart of the Swarm releases. I don't think they're going to do it on the day Heart of the Swarm releases, which means it's going to be either 3 or 5 weeks at this point before we see the patch.
Probably.
Maybe 6 weeks, but probably 3 or 5.
That's probably a good call. Probably. All right, we're going to move on here and talk about a really, really interesting story that popped up last week. But first, I want to tell you guys really quickly about a deal we got going on with Netflix. If you guys have not checked out their streaming service, here is your chance. Head on over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. Just use that URL. You can sign up. Absolutely. You got a free 30-day trial to check out their free streaming service. And the brand new show, House of Cards, is getting amazing reviews. This is a Netflix original show. They're now producing their own content, and this show with Kevin Spacey is just getting rave reviews. People are loving it. You can only watch it on Netflix. Look, it's got 4.5 stars, so it's right on the instant queue there. Go check it out today. All of season 1 is up there with Kevin Spacey, Robin Wright, David Fincher, amazing director. So go check that out. House of Cards. So if you want to check it out, just go over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV, sign up for your free 30-day trial, and you could be watching House of Cards tonight with your significant other, because that's what you do on Valentine's Day. Damn. All right, let's move on.
Don't watch Friends with Benefits.
No.
No, watch House of Cards instead of Friends with Benefits.
Yes.
All right, this next story
Pretty
is
good, by the way.
actually, this next story brings a little tear to my eye. It's so
Aw.
sweet. Yeah, brought a little tear to my eye. So check this out. So Korean servers, they've been getting a reputation of just becoming more and more elitist and competitive. Make a long story short here. Someone was trying to organize a pug raid, and they got a really, 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 really bad warrior show up. And the raid didn't end up happening. So the guy here decides to help spend some time with the warrior to try to help him out. Maybe give him a few pointers, pick him up speed. So apparently it went really well. The warrior improved a lot and was so polite and thankful for all the help that the guy ended up making this big, long post on how the community there had become so overbearing and elitist that it was a rare thing to see someone helping out someone else. Now here's where it gets totally crazy. It's not, no, it's a sweet story, right? Not too many times you find that, when you're a really bad warrior. This is where it gets crazy though. The post absolutely exploded. The post just completely exploded on the forums, getting tons and tons and tons of support. And after a couple of days, they're saying that there's actually a noticeable in-game impact of people actually working to improve their attitude after reading it. Now, we don't have scientific measures to prove this, but apparently a lot of people are saying that a lot of people must have read this article and maybe kind of changed their tune, and they're actually helping people. I mean, come on, internet, really?
Internet, this is not how you work.
This is not how World of Warcraft players work.
And generous.
Kindness.
I feel like you're doing the internet wrong. You're supposed to call him derogatory names.
Yes,
exactly. You're supposed to call him a scrub or a noob or something equally bitchy. Not going to be nice, internet. I don't even know you anymore, the internet.
I mean, the WoW community being too elitist? What kind of talk is this?
Yeah.
I don't buy it. It's not how the internet
You
works.
don't buy it.
I don't know. What do people just say? Do people just read it and just having a change of heart and go like, hey, maybe I should just help somebody instead of just yelling bad names at people?
I think one really important thing to point out is this is Korea we're talking about. They have a very, very different culture over there than we have in the rest of the world. Americans are known for being proud of being assholes. That's how we are. We're like, yes, look at my giant shining phallus because I'm American. Whereas Koreans aren't. So it's shiny. See, look at it's a very shiny microphone that I have. What did you think I was talking about?
The microphone ob.
But yeah, I don't think this exact thing could. Gary's just gone now.
He's gone. He's left. He's left us to talk. Right.
I don't think this exact thing could really work on like the North American servers at the very least. Maybe are people nicer on the European forums? It's kind of not the impression I've gotten as much, but maybe.
I think it's kind of one of those grass is always greener things, because I think the European forums often think the American forums are better, and the American forums think the European forums are better, and I'm trying to see what's happening in Gary's cane.
So you're looking around the webcam?
I'm looking around inside the internet. No, I've got a thing in the way of my screen. But I don't know, I think it's... Was it Josh's phallus talk?
Yeah, it just felt a little,
It's very... Look how sparkly it is.
Just felt a little sick and had to go.
I think it's quite... Like, reading the original thread, I think it's quite an extreme situation in Korea. It's... like things like if you don't do enough DPS, you don't qualify for any gear, you don't qualify for gold. Like they divide up, if people don't get gear in raids, they divide up gold between the people who have the highest DPS. So if you don't have good DPS, you can't actually get gold from raiding, you can't get gear. Like, I think there's more from reading that post on the forums, there's definitely more elitism in that situation than I have ever experienced in WoW. So I think it is a different ballgame.
But I gotta say, even in the U.S., I think it's like a lot of people have been playing WoW for a really long time now. It might actually be like a nice thing to kind of like, maybe do something different and reach out and help somebody in game who needs some help. Might actually give you a different night of experience. You know who actually does a lot of this? EVE Online. You ever see the EVE Online? They have like that whole corporation of people who basically are just there to help noobs out. I think it's great. There's a whole group of people who are just like, hey, we're going to help people in game. All right.
Yeah, there's definitely...
I'm done hugging trees and rainbows.
There definitely are a lot of people in World of Warcraft that tend to forget that they were bad once too. They didn't know what they were doing at one point in the past, and so, or they just kind of become intolerant of people who don't want to put as much into the game as they do. And I think there's certainly a point, there's certainly a bottom end of that spectrum where you run into people who just aren't trying and are just being a burden to others because they don't care about others. That's never a good thing. Like if you show up to a raiding guild that's advertised itself as a raiding guild and said, okay, we're going to try and kill these bosses, and you show up and you like don't have gems at all or something because you're like, I don't care, whatever, it's just a game, right? And you put yourself in that environment, then you're just being a burden on other people. That's one thing. But it's important to understand that there's probably a place for that type of player, and it's okay if they want to be in that type of place. They've just mismatched where they're in the wrong guild at that point. It's not that they're wrong for wanting to take the game casually. They're just not in the right guild when that happens. I think people tend to get really, really upset about it. And then you see it in LFR too. Like you'll see somebody who's obviously trying but just not doing very well, and so they're on the bottom of the meters or something. Maybe they didn't know the fight very well. Some sort of phase transition surprised them or something. Maybe they just don't know their class very well or something. They've never thought of going online to search for information on how to play their character. A lot of people just don't ever think of that. So I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, I got on a bit of a rant there.
No. It's no. Your rant timed out perfectly. On the East Coast, it is now officially not Valentine's Day, and back to your regularly scheduled internet.
Wow.
I was walking through the forest of moccasin bread when I
This is what the internet's really for.
Wearing tight pants. I want to own them, but can you even dance in those pants?
Watch me, woman. All right, the internet's for trolling. We're back to Valentine's Day is over. Screw it. Be mean. Do what you want. All right.
No, don't be mean. Still be nice.
If you guys have been over to Gamebreaker TV in the past couple days, you might have noticed something a little bit different. Yes, we removed a lot of ads on the website. Lots of ads. We removed a ton of them. Gonna try something. Don't know if it's gonna work. Can't guarantee it. We don't like ads. You don't like ads. We're going to try and keep ads to a minimum, but we are asking for donations. So if you guys like Gamebreaker without the ads, you guys can spare $1, $5, whatever you can do. Head on over to gamebreaker.tv/donate, and you can send it a donation. Help us keep the ads to a minimum. Like I said, I can't guarantee there's going to be no ads. And this doesn't fully, this doesn't go for the video stuff, really. We still got, did I mention Netflix? Yeah, we still got Netflix. But we're going to try and keep them off the site. So if you guys can, go over to gamebreaker.tv/donate and send us a few bucks and help us keep the ads down to a minimum. All right, let's do some viewer questions and get out of here. If you guys have questions for the Legendary Crew, make sure to send them in to submit@gamebreaker.tv. Keep an eye on our Facebook page too. Oh, I want to hit 30,000 Facebook fans. Come on, help us out. We want to hit 30,000 by the end of February. We're getting close. We're at 28.8 or something. So we don't need that much. Go over to facebook.com/Gamebreaker TV and hit the old like button and help us out. Let's get over 30K. Keep an eye on the Facebook page as well. If you guys have a question, we usually ask day of the show for questions there. You can post them there, or again, send them to submit@gamebreaker.tv. All right, first up, this question comes from Chris Darwin. Says, do you think Blizzard should add a catch-up token for the Black Prince reputation like they did for every other faction? Olivia?
I don't know. I'm really undecided on that one because it's really hard. I don't think they should, but I'm normally the one who says they should for everything else. So I'm trying to think of a really good reason other than, no, they shouldn't. People have had to work really hard for that.
Well, that's kind of the thing, is it's kind of not a reputation like the other ones. It doesn't feel Like that's one that you're supposed to work hard on, and that's the point. Is that it's one that you're supposed to work hard on, and since it's kind of an integral part of the story too. Is like you get to honor, or you get to friendly by doing this, you get to honored by doing this, and then you get to revered by doing this other thing entirely. I feel like adding a token to speed that process up, especially since the reputation, as it turns out, just kind of happens as part of doing everything else anyway. It just doesn't seem like. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't really seem like maybe once 5.4 drops and you've got 3 steps of the chain, or maybe if they add another one in 5.3, when you've got like several steps of the chain to get caught up on at some point, maybe. But the whole point of the legendary chain like that is supposed to be something that you worked on over the entire expansion. So,
yeah, it's meant to be hard. It's for a legendary, guys. It's meant to be difficult. I don't think there should be a catch up for it because it's a legendary.
Can I just buy it in the cash shop?
Yeah.
All right, next up, this one from Daniel Madison. This is, how do you deal with raiders that play suboptimal specs for no reason, i.e. Destro locks or marksmanship hunters for current tier? Josh Allen.
I like this question because he says Destro locks, and there actually are a few fights where destruction is better than the other specs. And it makes a great example of the rest of what I would say in response to the question, in that sometimes people don't figure out that specs are good until late in a tier. I don't know why this happens, but sometimes, like early on in tier 14, even in patch 5.1, people were like, no, Destro is just bad. You should never go Destro on any single fight. You would always AoE, you would go demo for all the AoE fights, and you would go affliction for all the single target fights. And then over time it was like, well, no, actually you can go affliction for all the AoE fights, and there isn't really a difference. And now people are like, oh, actually destruction is amazing on the AoE fights. It turns out destruction has the best AoE. Like, and that's still something that isn't definitively decided either. It's just people don't figure this stuff out. So what I would say is, look at their numbers. If their numbers are bad, then maybe say maybe you're playing the wrong spec. But if their numbers aren't bad, who cares? If they're doing their job, who cares what spec they are?
Josh Allen says, who cares? What does Olivia Grace say?
Olivia Grace definitely agrees with Josh Allen and says, who cares? Olivia Grace has a more casual attitude to raiding than Josh Allen does. So I think that this may sort of, I think this kind of goes back to what Josh was saying earlier about being, like, there's not a wrong choice, there's a wrong situation. So, I mean, the guild I raid with primarily, I can't imagine someone being like, no, you're playing the wrong spec. You're just bad and wrong because you're playing the spec that you like, and the way that you want to play your character and enjoy this game that you're playing and having fun with is wrong. You are wrong and you are bad at things. I mean, maybe
it doesn't matter that you're top DPS. You're wrong.
Yeah. I mean, okay, if that person is really low DPS, and maybe they will get brought to fewer progression rates. And if that person is really like struggling and desperately wanting to like try anything to increase their DPS, then yeah, maybe I suggest, like, if you really want to increase your DPS, you might want to consider the fact that the spec you're playing is considered a lower DPS spec. Maybe a contributing factor. But I don't think that I would ever sort of deal with a raider, like get them to sit in the naughty corner until they learn to destro or something, or learn to AF, as it probably would be the more correct terminology.
Learn to AF.
Yeah, AF.
L2 AF.
L2 AF. But yeah, I don't think that I would be like, you have to wear your dunce's cap. You're not allowed to come raiding until you learn how to be the right spec.
And and people are mentioning this in chat room too. There is a point where, at certain types of guilds, when you get into higher end guilds, like especially if you were to say like, what I'm talking about doesn't apply if you're in a world first guild. For example, if you're pushing for world first, you have to be the absolute best specs. But if you're in a world first guild, you're probably not asking the question of how to deal with those people because you already know you should just get rid of them. So
yeah, exactly. It depends on your, and if the person asking the questions guild is like some kind of like quite casual guild where the people are really just in there to have fun and maybe get a purple thing every now and then just let them play what they want to play. And if that's bothering you, maybe change guilds. Maybe go find a hardcore raid team to raid with where they're like, nah, get out.
Last up this week from Les Dinerstein. He says, could the developers make crafting fun again? Crafting seems irrelevant now in the game. I feel SWTOR has the crafting angle right. WoW seems to treat it as an afterthought.
Man, okay. I kind of want to agree with him because I did like the SWTOR system at first, but eventually it just became an afterthought to me. Like eventually it was just, oh yeah, send your guys out to do stuff, and then don't think about crafting for a while. Like send all your guys off to do stuff, and then do anything else for a while. I don't know. It felt at first it was cool. I'm like. Yeah, at first it was cool because I could be like, yeah, no, I've got these guys on my team, and I can make them be useful. I can send them out to go do missions. I can send them out to earn me credits and stuff. That was cool. But after a while, it just sort of turned into, oh, well, this guy's back. This little thing popped up in the corner. Guess I better send him back out again. It was like 2 seconds of, there you go, that's done now. As long as I don't send out the one I'm currently using to help me kill stuff, then we're good.
No, come back, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So, I do think that the crafting system in World of Warcraft is a bit outdated. It's very, very 2004. I don't know that the SWTOR system is exactly... And again, the SWTOR system also, it depended a lot on having the companions, which isn't something... I don't think every game needs to add companions. It'd be a little bit weird to have every single game do that. So... I don't know. I do think the core of the question, the basic idea of the question, could the developers make crafting fun again? I think there's probably some room to look at that and think about ways to improve the crafting system that exists in World of Warcraft. But I don't necessarily think that saying let's grab the SWTOR system and put that in WoW will really work, because there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah. I definitely think that there needs to be improvements made, and Blizzard have been talking recently about making similar changes to fishing and leatherworking that they made to cooking and to blacksmithing, which is coming. It's not in the game yet. I don't know. I don't know whether was crafting ever fun. Was crafting ever actually a fun? Like, oh my god, crafting! I love to craft so much. It's amazing. Yeah.
I've loved it in some games.
What did you love about it?
It depends what the game was. There's certain games that when it actually. Star Wars Galaxies. Drink.
Yeah, no, I that was exactly where I was going to go. I was the guy who did nothing but make speeders all day in Star Wars Galaxies.
Well, the thing was...
I was a master artisan. That's all I did.
Because it actually meant something, and you actually made the best stuff in the game, and people, like, you know, kind of look towards you for that. Like, a lot of games really don't do that anymore. I don't even think that's in, like, World of Warcraft's, like, scope at all to, like, ever do something like that.
Yeah, and if you go back to 2004 and you look at what World of Warcraft's crafting was when it released, it was a fair bit better than in certain... Like, I had been playing Asheron's Call 2 before I was playing World of Warcraft. That was the last game that had a similar crafting system to it. And in AC2, you would go out, you would gather the mats, you would go to craft something, and it might fail, and you might lose all of the mats.
Yeah, it's great.
And enchanting was the best. Wow. Enchanting was the best. You could enchant your gear in Asheron's Call 2, but sometimes it made the gear worse. When that
negatively impact where you were before.
Yeah, and when that happened to they call them soulbound weapons. It was like this, you had to go through this big long quest chain to be able to get this thing, and it was better than everything else in the game, and you could only ever get it once, and then you went to enchant it, and it made it worse.
Wow.
that was a gun to the head moment.
That. I would high five you if I could right now for that. Wasn't there another guy? I mean, was it EQ2 that you could actually die? Could you die crafting?
From a craft explosion.
Oh no, I was trying to pour this molten metal into this mold, and instead I poured it on my head.
I think it was. I don't know. Chat room might know. Maybe it was. You could die from crafting. I can't remember which one it is, but I don't know. I'm a fan of that.
Make it more risky. Make crafting much more scary and risky.
Guys are a bunch of Care Bears these days. Olivia D. Grace, follow her on the Twitter at Olivia D. Grace, and of course go over to WoW Insider as well as Gamebreaker.tv and read all of her amazing writing, especially Chat Bubbles right here on Gamebreaker.tv. If you guys have not seen Chat Bubbles, make sure to come over and watch them. They're awesome. Josh Allen, follow him on the Twitter at Devilor, and go over to Zam.com, TankSpot, watch PST, The Weekly Marmot, all that kind of other stuff, and just the tip. Gosh. You can follow me at Gary Gannon, follow Gamebreaker TV, Gamebreaker TV, come over to the Facebook page, the website. I'm excited for Sunday, guys. I don't know if you heard. Destiny.